Here we go with our streaming issues. I am DBJ. Welcome all creatives community and kind folks to PDBJ. I am your host, and hopefully we will be coming through live pretty soon. Ooh, there we go. We have launched. There we are. All right. Sorry about that. So, for those who do not know, this is a it's like it's like a podcast. It's like the station for the imagination. It's where we all get together. And this week we're t- tongue firmly in cheek. All the meta stuff. We are going to blast Dungeons and Dragons, and we are just going to have some fun talking about like all the things in Dungeons and Dragons. If we extrapolate them out, will destroy the setting. Will destroy the world and whatnot. Now, um, here's a couple of rules. First of all, we're going to talk about a lot of the lower level capabilities in Dungeons and Dragons because essentially the once you start going into like fifth and sixth and seventh level spells and powerful monsters, by virtue of their by virtue of their mere existence, they are world changers. They are setting destroyers. So we're going to try to stay away from a lot of that. But as as detailed from yesterday, there are some combinations in Dungeons and Dragons as well. Um, Character class options, things like that, that just completely will break the game and give most of those game masters and dungeon masters out there a huge headache. So uh, let's get started here. Okay, so for the let's see if I can get the link here. Like we cannot ignore things like um, the proverbial wizard or spell. Got examples like acid splash, chill touch kind of fits into that category, even though you're like, how many things would how many things uh, would we either not believe in or be unexpected? I mean, heck, you could with prestidigitation, um, warm and cold food is chill touch the refrigerator spell. It should have been. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things. Can you imagine being able to keep your food cold? Oh, wait a minute, that is the refrigerator spell, right? So those are a lot of things that we don't think about. Now, mind you, I put this caveat in because I got will exist, right? Meaning that just because someone can lay on hands or has a cure spell doesn't necessarily mean everyone gets the cure or greedy. Come on with the buffering. Anyway, some people are greedy, others are arrogant. Heck, there's even more who have a particular agenda they're trying to achieve, whether it's higher levels of nobility or social standing or revenge or now that they have this capability shaping the world. Could you imagine the power a cultist would have if they could just raise their hands and with holy what is it healing word just heal the masses or something? Jeez. Yeah, I'm sitting right now. I'm sitting out on dead man. I'm sitting on the deck so I don't wake my family because I'm actually not home. I'm in Atlanta. I'm about 600 miles away from home, and it is the best spot for connection with the worst location I could find. Unfortunately, and actually will wake the hell up. And while it would be fun to be on what is it, the Rockstar YouTube channel, I really don't want to beat down by my family. Um, anyway, yeah. So if we'll go for a half hour, and like yesterday, if it gets a little too bad, yeah, we'll put a stop to it. So okay, so let's talk about evocations, the blasty blasters, the the most I would contend probably some of the most um, iconic imagery of the while it would be cool if someone were to ask you, hey, what magic spell do you think you would use to achieve all your goals? And sure, the classic, I'm going to say the classic fireball, even though we're talking lower levels, the classic ability to summon energy from your hands and shoot something um, seems to be like a good choice, but in actuality, it really isn't because it has a very limited focus. But in a fantasy setting, in a medieval setting, in a setting with lower levels of technology and lots of fear, yeah, it can be used pretty effectively. Now, as I've said before, there are limiting factors to like the spread of magic, right? Where there are briberies and assassinations. There's seduction and deception people's emotions that will prevent this from happening. But that's me being the negative nanny. But let's get into it. So powers like acid splash, chill touch, firebolt. Um, I'll throw in poison spray in there, shocking grasp, ray of frost works in there. As cantrips, the way the game setting works, cantrips you can keep doing over and over again. So I'm thinking these people might be they can be anything from street gangs to guardians of a major city state to even people out on the battlefield. Now, I have an issue with the whole wizards on the battlefield thing. Now, not because they wouldn't be there, I'm sorry, not because a military leader wouldn't want them to be there. I think it would just be because the wizards themselves wouldn't want to be there. Um, yes, I understand that in the military, like they have other than the people who fight, there are many other people on battlefields. Um, Battlefield medics come into mind, and there's communications and experts and such. But a lot of them are trained at least minimally in combat. Oh, Cam. Oh man, what is you're like on a roll today? Yeah, poison spray being used for insecticide and stuff. I'm sorry. The minute you said that, dude, like when you said poison spray could be utilized for pest extermination services, the first thing that came into my mind was the whole like um khaki or green outfit with the backpack spraying like spraying leaves and stuff. Trying to educate the homeowner on the dangers of different types of bugs, and the homeowners just rolling their eyes like, just get rid of the bugs. I don't care what you're doing. But no, but I mean, I think those individuals that can blast like electricity, cold, fire out of their hands, generated. I mean, could you imagine them like, well, they would be able to work in forges to create like heat. They would, heck, if it's burning summer, can you imagine them walking around just like putting ice and chilling people's drinks? I want a cold beer. Sure thing, boss. Here I come. But listen, if they could stand there on the beach and just like spray out cold, so you could just have like you're enjoying the sunlight, you're getting a tan, but then you got this cold spray of water coming over top of you. I think that'd be kind of cool. Even yes, city guards, what is it? Chill touch and shocking grasp would be pretty good. Grab somebody, tase them, knock them out, whatever. But I think the main thing, while the powers themselves aren't very dynamic, I think how they would be used in society would be extremely dynamic. Yeah, we get into. I'm using two services to broadcast here. So on YouTube, with the buffering again. No, no, no. I don't need to do that. Sorry, guys. Okay, I'll keep going despite the fact that we are having the heavy buffering. This court used modern 1900s technology. Oh no, to dominate everyone in medieval Europe. McGregor had an episode with a similar plot idea in the 80s. I didn't. You know what? There was the the modern man taken back to. Oh, please reload. Please, please, please. Oh shoot. Okay. We're just gonna have to go with the phone then. All right. So one of the things that phone Cam says shocking grasp would be excellent use for self-defense. Imagine having that on your side on the wrong shortcut home. See, that'd be awesome. I think even, you know, I could imagine now that I'm thinking about it, because I've like I threw out my little negative nannyisms, but I could see I could see that skill being turned into some having the skill being turned to modify someone's combat abilities, like, you know, any kind of like self-defense martial arts would be useful with evocation spells, right? Someone tries to attack you, you parry and dodge, you trip them, and then you slam them on the throat with a chill touch, just as like a coup de grace or something like that. Or um, the the spells, and here's how we're going to narratively like affect things, right? So the spells are of a sort where it says, okay, you have to touch or aim um at your target, right? But I wonder if the same effect would happen if they touched you and you activated it upon you being touched, which is just it's like a twisted mod of the you need to touch them, like you maybe there's certain timing in it. But that would be pretty cool if somebody came up to you and tried to wrestle you or grab you by the scruff of your neck or your wrist or something to steal something from you, and this bolt of electricity just shoots right through them, and then you just rob them instead. You just walk away like, thanks for the money there, dude. It'd be pretty funny. Now, I don't know how hard it is in Dungeons and Dragons to learn magic, right? I, is it We know that a higher level intelligence is needed, but if you could really start to, or someone could steal the really now my phone's doing it. Um, yeah, but well, first of all, in my head, I'm thinking there has to be, there are higher level spells in Dungeons and Dragons that do something similar to that. Like, what is it? Like Fire Shield is similar, or heck, even the Shield spell is similar to that. When a hit, target takes D8 lightning damage, and it can't take reactions until the start of the next turn. Right? You could, I could vision that something like that, but I can imagine different schools, their users appear, the way the magic is very individualistic. So, for example, like one school might use I don't know, their students' eyes flare a certain color and a certain glow appears around their hands before they cast their spells. And then a second school, it's a glow that surrounds their body just before they emit their power. And then yet a third school might be like it's something emits from their chest instead, while they hold their hands up in these in a weird arc or whatever. Also, if there's somatic components, the movement of your body and your hands. We don't have to go with a Eurofied wizard's hat cone or whatever. I mean, if you want to go for other like cultures or something, martial arts katas would fit perfectly into that. Or um, the flexing of the bones or something could be very effective in that. If there's even verbal components, certain types of words, even if people don't understand what the words are said, you know what the intent of the words would be, right? So the people the people located in the rest of the community, when they hear these gangs get together in the streets, everybody like runs for it because they know, we better get out the fire brigade, because like blasts of fire and bolts of lightning and acid's going to get splashed all over. Um, it it would be, now I could see if this went from like an urban destruction where the most of the communities in the area are um, like they've stopped building things out of wood and started using stone, and maybe the different schools start to fight each other in like these town squares or something. But when it starts to spread out of there and the secret goes out, I could see nobles and military and government trying to at least encourage those wizards to go out there on the battlefield. That would be pretty interesting to see. Like guardians on the battlements, you see like archers and crossbowmen, pikemen and whatnot, and then the PCs are like, who are those people that are not carrying anything? And they see they're like wearing banners across their shoulders or a special type of cloak or a certain type of tabard they're wearing, over their heads and over their bodies to represent. They're like, oh, what is it? Bow and arrows? No big deal. We'll just storm the castle. And all of a sudden, like blasts of cold and like, you know, um, just blasts of fire start coming down. I think that would be a very good image. I think that'd be quite hilarious. And who's to say, in Dungeons and Dragons, we have a ton of like, here's a bunch of capabilities for you to go out there and have some fun with. But there aren't too many, there's not as much emphasis. Like, I wonder if there would be like dwarven and gnomish builders who would make like these almost like plate mail insulated suits that are designed to corral and go after the people that are like these young upstarts who only bothered to learn like ray of frost or like a jet of flame or a poison spray, and now they're out there causing all kinds of havoc because they can destroy anything they want using it as intimidation tactic. And then there's people who are dressed up in these near near halo suits running around to apprehend these people. And the suits are like they've got extra defenses and protections and resistances and things. I think that'd be pretty fun. I think that'd be a pretty fun setting to appear in. Now, the reason why I keep going with like the gangs and the violence and all that kind of stuff is because um, there will be a subset of individuals. Like if you could create fire with your hands, there would be a subset of individuals who could just who would be doing things to like start fires to burn away crops, or using fire to alight the lamp oil because we're no longer using the light spell any longer from yesterday. Or there will be someone like Cam said, using poison spray as an insecticide or something, or um, using cold to whatever the case may be, right? I think there will be a subset of people who will do that, but you know, like Cam says, instant minor image, a pretty low level spell. Imagine using that against an angry bar patron who's already seeing double. You know what? Yeah, minor illusions work. Well, okay. I think the minor illusion thing would work until you start getting a higher population doing it. Much like in our modern context with like um, identity theft, or what is it? The rich Nigerian scam. When certain people start doing particular scams over and over again, people will all of a sudden start to get a little bit paranoid. So when it comes to illusion, because I thought about the illusion magic idea, right? Like there's nothing wrong at all with the idea of illusion magic, but I will say that it would be you can cause a whole hell of a lot of trouble. There's a lot of we can get into with like disguise self or something. Now mirror Deadman says mirror image is second level. Not that, oh, you said mirror image. I'm sorry. I thought I read that, or my mind went to minor image. Mirror image is second level. And like I said, in my own head canon, and I don't know about you guys, but my own head canon, I'm thinking every spell level is probably a 50% reduction in seeing it from the next level above. So second level spells would only be about 50% of the population of spellcasters that would know them, and then third level spells only about 50%, and so on. So I think they would be more rare. I can imagine instructors because okay, let me segue here a little bit. In the game, we assume that hey, if I'm going to learn magic, I will learn it perfectly because the rules say this is how it works, so I'm going to learn it exactly that way. But in a narrative sense, how many people fail or get it wrong or learn? We know people learn things just enough to get by without without actually doing the work. So while your top 10% are brain surgeons in medical school, you got your bottom 10% that's like they're just scraping by, right? They're the ambulance chaser, like chiropractic center that's just waiting for you to come in so they can sign your paperwork so you can get workman's comp, right? So who are they as magic users or and wizards and spellcasters in Dungeons and Dragons? Like, are they the person that's like, yeah, I know two cantrips, I'm done. I quit school. It's too expensive for me. It's too rough. I couldn't read all those draconian languages to learn magic or something. Or maybe some of them have yeah, Deadman says Mirror Image was also second level in second edition and third edition. And Mirror Image is pretty like it would be I understand that player characters love having access to magic, but I think it'd be a little bit of a shock if a player character pushes around like what they consider to be a zero level human being and they like start whipping out the spells and the PC is like, wait, what? And then their friends come over and their friends start whipping out the spells. Yeah, yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool. I think that'd be very cool. And I mean, but there's even some other spells out there that are, I think, while I'm being sarcastic, would be implemented pretty well. Things like jump spell or expeditious retreat or long strider would fit in really well with like a um, outlander tribalistic outside the city survivalist kind of thing to get around. And could you imagine if PCs are like following like a band of bandits or something like that, and all of a sudden all the bandits start leaping up into the trees and running like at near cheetah speeds. I know they wouldn't be running that fast, but they essentially they start like double dashing and stuff like that. Now Cameron says ant hall would help with farming a lot. Ant hall? Ant, I know something spell checked on you there. Uh, um, I think the one of the issues that we sarcastically think about is this idea of like create food and water or purify food and water or even spells like detect poisons and disease and whatnot. I mean, could you imagine a person who can diagnose diseases like unfailingly? That would pop the population up so high. Heck, even we even know from history that half the wars that not half, I'm saying that sarcastically, but like half the battles that are lost haven't been due to combat at all. It's been done to like starvation, disease, exhaustion, basically going into a military theater without understanding the environment that you're in, whether it's high, cold, or something. Deadman says, "Oh, Ant Hall is from Pathfinder. Might be a Pathfinder only spell. It allows you to carry a lot more weight. What is it? The old Tensor's floating disc, the floating disc spell. I mean, I understand it. It's not. They built in the current fifth edition. They built in a lot of limitations. Like the person who casts a floating disc spell can't ride on it. It doesn't move until you. It doesn't move until you move to the end of its spell distance and whatnot. But listen, you talk about a force multiplier like a floating disc, mage hand itself. Oh my god! Like just to be able to grab tools and lift shingles up on rooftops or carry carry injured folk. Every noble, if you've got money, everybody's going to want to ride on a floating disc and have their own agent nearby so you can get up on your throne or your um, all your like dozens of pillows up on a floating disc and get floated along. I mean, that's just a given. But what a cool image, right? But like even a floating disc spell, you can put hundreds of pounds on it and drop it and dispel it and have it drop from a height. So dwarven mining communities could use it to haul a lot of debris. You could quickly rebuild from a major battle by having people throw the debris onto a floating disc and moving it somewhere else. You could set up traps around where there's a floating disc spell over a pit, and someone could make all the debris that's that's covering the floating disc spell over the pit disappear instantly while people are running across it. I mean, there's so many. Heck, you could even you like Tesla Ranger said the other day, like you start stacking like, hey, I'm gonna do a floating disc, you do a minor illusion, I'm gonna use thaumaturgy or prestidigitation. You start stacking people together, man. You yeah, Tensor's floating disc only floated 1 foot above the ground. Oh, that's right. That's right. It's the your what is the limitation on taking it across rough terrain? I can't remember. Um, sorry about my finger. I'm trying to roll the. Okay, here we go. Um, Cameron says with the Mage Hand, arcane tricksters get you could torment your enemies forever by tapping on the shoulder at random times. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. You're like, Mom. Um, yeah, Deadman says Tensor's floating disc only floated 1 foot above the ground. That's right, because you can't get across. There is terminology in it about getting across wow, my brain is just is farting, and I don't want to call it the computer yet again. Um, yeah, as a matter of fact, even maybe. Gee, I'm talking about magic being destroyed, and I'm not even bother looking it up. I did have it open, but there's even the idea of like um, when I say force multipliers, right, for society, I don't mean necessarily a force multiplier for a weapon, but you get four people who can create a floating disc. You could almost make a turn a siege weapon into almost like a floating tank of sorts. Of course, you would have to aim at the arcane navigators. I don't know what you would call them, walking around with their magical staves or something, but I still think that would be pretty cool. I mean, remember, even though it's only a foot off the ground, it still follows along the path set by the caster, right? So if they're walking steps, I think you could take a tensor's floating disc up a set of stairs because the stairs act as the ground, which you could have a a catwalk with only space for one person who is the wizard, who can cast a floating disc, but everyone else to get to the king's chamber, the noble's chamber, has to stand on the floating disc. And so therefore, while there's only space for one person across this like catwalk or this not spire, but like the equivalent of a very narrow rope bridge, everybody else has to count on the good graces of the person who's creating the floating disc in the first place to get from one side to the other, right? By floating behind the person walking along this narrow ledge or something like that. I think you can have some fun with it. And like I said before, the we in Dungeons and Dragons we look at magic as like an on-off switch, like it only works this way or it doesn't. But all those people who failed school or the generations afterwards that are able to modify things. Deadman says correction, 3 feet above the ground. That's even better. 3 feet, you could slide over some pretty difficult terrain with that, without upsetting the noble that's riding on top of it or something. But what like some other spells, most of wow, most of the detection spells would very easily fit into a investigation exploration style of um, cast or community, because people could go around, for example, when individuals go to, let's say, a religious institution, or they go into the town square. How hard would it be for there to be people there who can detect all things like detect good and evil, or protection from good and evil, and spells like that when you come into um, the main town, and they could just detect whether there's purified food and water over goods and serve food and harvests that are brought into a city or something, just to keep people safe. Now, again, someone brought this up on the comments both yesterday and in the past. So one of the, hey, Mike, what's going on? By the way, I loved your talk with Dave Frant from Nerdarchy about the out of the box account. But all right. Anyway, Mike Gould says, to be honest, the concept that certain moved a little bit. The concept that certain magic would be imbalance things is based on the understanding that technology does the same thing for us. Yep, exactly. Like tensors, floating disk, electromagnetics, for example. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We are associating things with our own current technology, right? Like when we see something, it's the idea of firearms in fantasy. People hate firearms in fantasy because we extrapolate out that we know where firearms have taken us, and we stopped using swords and armor and all that kind of business. But in a fantasy setting, my contention is yes, given a long enough time frame, you could predict that one thing will happen. But the other thing I think that we tend not to look at is sure in a big time frame, but I'm sure there's people during the 200 or 300 400 years that firearms were developed that were completely convinced that they would never be a thing, right? There's plenty of people who died. It was like the automobile will never survive. We'll always have horses. Stupid motorized carriages will never be a thing. Cam's like Captain America. How do you how do you complain so well? You want to know my secret? I'm always offended. uh, Where's that from? Yeah, Mike says yes, but whom would you fear? A fighter with a gun or a mage with a wand? Depends on how accurate. No, depends on the reliability, right? Like, are you talking firearms today? Hell yeah, I'd be scared of a gun. Although I don't know what magic looks like, so if I got to see magic for the first time, I think I'd have Hershey squirts in my underdrews. I think I'd have lemonade and chocolate squirming down there if I saw somebody with a wand, like, blast fire out of their just by saying a couple of command words and blasting fire or something. Yeah. Now, I do understand that, like, teaching magic, I think we never really think about the idea of, like, the teaching of magic and the abuse of magic. But how cool would it be to have, like, the player characters aren't playing mages, they're actually like, yeah, like Michael says, let me put it this way. A gangster pulls out a 9 millimeter, but a mage says fireball. Yeah. Fireball? What the motherfucker? Yeah. Now remember, we're talking low levels of magic. If you have once you get to the point where you're casting fireball, that individual's already shifting society. But I don't know how many people would. How would you measure the numbers of people who could learn third level spells? Right. I'm Because I think the lower level, if someone had burning hands or what is it? What's the flame cantrip or something? I think that's just as much of a fireball as anything. As a matter of fact, 90% of the evocation spells can kill you outright. We look at it as a game, as a gaming thing where, oh, my character's got 38 hit points, but in a yeah, like Mike says, a firebolt cantrip does 1d10, a flintlock pistol does 1d. Yeah, but you don't know that, right? If you're a 3 hit point human being, Tommy gun versus chain lightning lemons. What? Chain lightning? Yeah, like these spells compared to the average human being are overkill. So a wizard, I don't know if you even call him a wizard if he cut class, but some arrogant a-hole who finally learns the burning spells hand or ray of frost, you know, cone of cold, or what's sorry, I'm going too high level. Hell, even a shocking grass spell could pretty much kill just about any average human being. And remember, soldiers, people who are trained combatants, higher level people, um, those individuals. Ooh, there we go. Yeah, Michael says, yeah, okay. The flintlock pistol puts a hole in the door. The firebolt sets the door, the wall, the house on fire. Yeah, there's some. There, we can't. I think sometimes we disregard the psychological fear of that, right? Like, someone who can actually literally summon flame in their hand and fire it out their hands is casting a fireball. I don't care if it's a cantrip. I'm when it's blasted at me, I'm thinking is fireball. I'm thinking of flamethrower the whole time. And sure, that person could be out there helping harvest, and sure, that person could be lighting torches in the city. But at a certain point, when you've got a hammer, you start looking for nails, right? Like it's when you're a bully, you normally you're a bully when you have the skill to be a bully first. You've got that weapon to be a bully, whether it's a sharp tongue or heavy muscles. And in this case, oh, would this be would this be the opposite of the bully? Like would the smart magical people be the a-holes of the world, and the brawny um wedgie making individuals be the second class citizens? Like, hey, I learned these cantrips and or first level spells. I'm smarter than you. I'm I'm at a higher level than you. Yeah, you can go ahead and crack your knuckles all you want. All I got to do is say a couple of words and fling my hand, and I could freeze you to death, or, you know, basically shock you with a bolt of light out of my body, or make some kind of, I don't know, ghostly necrotic energy, some kind of black light come out of my hand when I touch you or something like I think there'd be a whole different level of the PCs come into town, and all of the uh, what we would normally call the big brawny bullies are actually in the employ of the wizards who can cast these spells, because they're the ones who are being paid. So now all of a sudden you could have like crime syndicates, you could have nobles and members of guilds, like mercantile guilds or something, who are either trained or their kids are trained. Because I'm thinking everybody's going to want to send at least one of their kids, if they have any intelligence, to these schools to put them through the school of hard knocks, which would probably mean a lot of students might die from it. I can't imagine it would be too safe to start learning pyromancy at a school. Sure would be fun. Even now, sure, I'm sure there would be instructors there, but like, would the instructors be bribed or kidnapped or blackmailed? Who have a lot of money would want to send their kids to the schools to get them to learn some of these spells. There would be, oh yeah, arcane foci would be locked up like guns are. Ooh, damn, I'm liking that. You come into the building, and there's one of those like a gun, it looks like a gun rack when you come into the tavern, but instead the person takes the key, the gnomish bartender behind the door takes the key and opens it up and sticks it into the rack and closes it, and you see nothing in there but like rods, stabs, and wands. A couple of hooks to hang like medallions on it or something. Maybe even one of those mannequin hands that you put rings on. I'm loving that. Um, Man, Cameron says, how epic would a unicorn be in this setting? I think with the low level magic, they would e- seem even more powerful and connected to magic. Maybe they might even be. I could see arcane creatures being drawn to a city state or a population who has that much magic. Yeah. Um, a night girl. Hey there, what's going on there? Thanks for stopping by. Says, yeah, they would. Yep. Unicorn. You know me. I love unicorns and naga and sphinxes and all like those mid-level creatures. That are like, they're smart, but they're also like beefy a little bit. And I love them. I think they would try to either recruit people from this town, or be drawn to it, or hell, even learn from some of the people in this city state. I'm calling it a city state, but you know, I think to a certain extent it would be pretty awesome. Deadman says Hogwarts did teach. Oops, sorry. Oops, there we go. Hogwarts did teach powerful curses to higher year pupils. Oh yeah, yeah. If you graduate up higher, sure, heck yeah. No, hey, what's up, night girl? Yeah, what's up? Um, uh, Michael says the sign above would be no bow, no bows, no blades, no spells. Yeah. Now, okay, so what would a sprinkler system look like in this setting, right? Would it be like I don't know, you would higher level magics of like counterspell, detect I'm sorry, not counterspell, dispel magic. What are some anti-magic are pretty powerful spells, although how would you do that? I think I think it I think it remains to be said that why I don't understand why there isn't an anti-cantrip spell. Yeah, create water plus confusion. Uh-oh. You see everybody like starting to push their tables back and their chairs back and their hands start lighting on fire. And everyone looks up at the ceiling and all of a and it starts downpouring inside the place. They're like, damn it. Oh man. Night girls, imagine things like charm and vicious mockery literally kill people with kindness. Hi, I'm your friend. You sure are. Here, follow me. Okay, take him around the corner. You start blasting with language like, F you, you mother. Vicious mockery. Like, what did I do? You thought we were friends. My nose is bleeding. Yeah, yeah, man. Hey, maybe you learn those like the enchantment school that teaches people. I mean, how powerful would people be? What's there's a book called um it wow, it has a very common name. It was like written in like the 70s or the 80s or something like how to how to charm how to be charming and influence people or something like that. I can imagine a self-help school for enchantment spells, like charming spells. Like, no, if you just believe in yourself, other people will believe in you. And they're like, yeah, yeah. Pyramid scheming everyone that goes to the place because the people who are upper level in the charm schools can't help but charming the people into the school. Oh, they would be the best recruiters though. Friend spell, charm person. Now, again, if you're going to influence people's minds, right? How to win friends and influence people. Thank you there, Mike. That's it. How to win friends and influence people. Yep. It's become a running joke. Tabletop sports Delaware. Hey, I'm from the East Coast, man. I'm not in the East at the East Coast now, but hey, thanks for stopping by. And uh well, you can't put any links. Please stick around till at least next week so we can talk. Um, yeah, Cameron says, imagine a teenager knowing the kind of spells Slytherins learn. That's just irresponsible. Yeah, yeah, teenagers. Because I'm thinking of it like I know people think of Dungeons and Dragons with like wizards who learn a thick ass spell book full of spells, but imagine if you've learned 1 to 3 spells, mostly cantrips, maybe a first level spell, how rich and powerful you would be. Now, sure, in this community we're talking about, this arcane city state, maybe you're just one of a million, maybe not a million. You're one of just a number of people who graduated out of these various schools. But man, if you were to take your skills somewhere else, hell, much like people who have special acrobatic skills or juggling skills or singing voice or whatever, that would be you could have a pretty good living. And but what like where do you stand? Would you be a 0 level wizard? Like, would it be something like that? I don't know. um ooh, Michael says probably why sorcerers are mistrusted. They're likely using magic from a young age. Yeah, I always thought of sorcerers as like the analogy of not direct X-Men, but like, wow, they're young and doing magic and untrained. That's a little scary, you know. At least if you're trained, because I didn't bring up the idea of having sorcerers and warlocks and things like that, even clerics. But if you're trained, at least we trust the mechanism that trains you. much like a doctor, getting a degree or something like that. Yeah. Um, Now, Night Girl says, a Night Girl, because there's probably more than one. There would be an entire business around creating spaces that are cleansed of magic to stop contracts being messed up from charm person. Oh well, see, I didn't go there, but I was thinking that like a giant city, a major city state, would probably have at a minimum some kind of alarm system that can tell if people are using magic. At a at the maximum, there would probably be anti-magic zones. Business, the business center, the wherever the government leadership is, whether they're nobles or there's a council of seven or something. Like I can imagine there being literally like the only way you get to conduct business, or maybe you go to court, and there you got to stand in the anti-magic shell when you go to the court, or anti-magic ring or something. So I'm thinking something like that. But if at a minimum alarms might go off, like a bell or a horn, or gemstones up on poles will illuminate when someone casts a spell, so people don't there aren't people stealing things from other people's uh locations. And by the way, thank you very very much, Dead Man. We do have audio gets punched out to a Discord server simultaneously, but I'm out of town. I'm out with family and friends and stuff. Sectum Sempra, and he was the good boy. Those books need to be reviewed at the end of the year. Yeah. Well, the Hogwarts idea I think really fits in. I mean, I you would have to modify it a little bit, but I could see doing a zero level Dungeons and Dragons game where the players only start out with a couple of cantrips, and they kind of like I suppose you could even do this with like Monster Hearts as a game, even though I know a lot of people prefer Dungeons and Dragons, but I could see doing it with like a Monster Hearts where you only have a few capabilities. Mike Gould says, when I started running Thole, magic in the Carginian or Carginian Empire was heavily regulated. Sorcerers were both hunted and arrested. There was literally a license to use magic. Anti-magic zones. Mike says, magic was governed like open carry weapons in communities. Yeah, absolutely. And I think even, I mean, it would make perfect sense to have like guardians walking around with like anti-magic equipment, like shackles, hoods over the face, maybe even forcing you to drink a potion that gets your mind so you can't like um, uh, not an injection, but like the equivalent of getting you drunk or confused so that you can't cast your magic, or putting a blindfold, or like even a mechanical, like a metallic thing over your face so it covers your mouth or your eyes. Um, Putting shackles on your feet when you're captured. Now, before they get to that point, like you're saying, like magic being governed, you know, the people who have magic are going to want to hunt you down if you've got magic that you're using that's not licensed from them. Um, much like in today's world, the same thing would be happening where, yeah, you can have a gun, but you need to have a license to use it, and we need to track who you are and what you're doing. Tabletop Sports says, headed to work. Have a good day, folks. Hey, have a great one. Tabletop always air at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and pop on in. And usually we pick a subject and talk about it all week long. So this week we're just talking about like some of the crazy things that could happen and all that kind of business. Um, if the Jarl DM shows up, Jarl DM will help me talk about barbarians, which I skipped on purpose. Anti-magic vaccine. He's funny. Mike Gould says, warlocks would be heavily governed too. The empire would not trust the servants of otherworldly beings that had no loyalties to the empire. Oh, hell's yes. Hell's yes, meaning like no, they wouldn't trust. First of all, think about an empire, and how would they trust you if you're willing to give of yourself to some otherworldly power? I wouldn't trust you just on that fact, right? So, and now you're literally an agent of a power that is something I can't control. You know, um, sorry about my French, but F you, dude, woman, anything in between, warlock. Get the hell out of my city, you know. And heck, I would spread propaganda, you know. Hey, don't trust those cold fire people. Those people casting cold magic out of their hands. You need to come over to us pyro to the pyro gang or something like that. You can't trust those other people, you know. Um, Cam says, imagine how much less gross cleaning up trash and other things would be with prestidigitation. Cleaning up cooking equipment and spills, keeping kitchen floors slick free. Fast food would be better. Fast food services. You know what? Maybe with all the fighting with the people blasting each other in the town square, the person with prestidigitation that owns the I don't know, the Quickie Burger the Quickie Burger franchise is sitting back shaking his head like, hey, you guys can fight all you want, but you're going to get hungry. Here's a couple of burgers. And you got a couple of people like one person using their magic to grind up the meat and the other person throwing it down on a grill and just blasting it with their flame, and the next person is like taking yeast and flour and using prestidigitation to like bake it very quickly in their hands, and the person next to them has got like a little tomato plant using like druid craft or whatever it is and making the plant grow. So you got tomatoes and they start slicing tomatoes and lettuce, and PCs are out on the road. They're like hungry. They're dirty. They're dehydrated. They see the small wagon come up, covered wagon, like, oh, maybe we can get some stale skunky water and some stale bread from them. All of a sudden, like the people jump out the back, open up the food truck. Hey guys, what's going on? PC starts smelling like steaks cooking, maybe fish boiling. I don't know, all kinds of like. They're like, "Ooh, is that saffron?" Like, oh no, but if you like saffron, press the dig, sprinkle it on sprinkle it on the meal. Yep. How would people who know prestidigitation would have killer cleaning services? Hey, we went down in the dungeon. Why are there no cobwebs? Don't know. My best friend over there, Gelatinous Cube, and we've got a cleaning service. Gelatinous Cube tries to bow down like Dead Man, Dragon Burger, a web comic about dragons running a burger joint. I didn't know that. Dead Man, you always know these things. That's hilarious. Yep. How do you want your burger? Well, they're all well done. Oh man, Cam's like use Tensor's floating disk as flat grills. Hell yeah. You want a handcrafted pizza? Here we go. Roll the dough out, throw some toppings on it, and then and turn the Tensor's floating disk just slow enough, and someone's there like casting heat over top of it to get your grinders. I'm loving it though. But and as silly as it is though, right? How cool would that be to come into a town? That's not going to break your game, even though we are talking about game breaking stuff. But that's not going to break the game if the PCs come into town and there's literally like food franchises and stuff. It would be pretty hilarious. It would be very hilarious. Um, Heck, even learning the rules of how the society works, like which neighborhoods have the anti-magic. I'm sure the richer neighborhoods instead of the poorer ones. Who who gets to learn the magic? Uh, it's crazy. That's funny. That's funny. Night girl. My players literally ran into a sorcerer who had a push cart at the docks of the port city. Disguised herself as the old lady with the cart. Yep. Hells yeah. Yep. Oh, Mike Gold says, wait a sec. Tensor's floating disk isn't a barrier to energy. The TFD flat grill over a campfire would work. Ooh. Ooh, yeah. Because you could, because you could put steaks and ribs and grilled chicken over top of it, over the disc, and then just have a fire underneath it. Of course, you have someone who's got like a fire spell, like a burning hands or whatever, start the fire. or maybe even just with prestidigitation, you can't really cook anything. You would have to slow cook it because you can't really start a fire that way, but you can heat things up. So, man, you could okay, yeah, firebolt cantrip to start a fire. Yeah, exactly, Night Girl. Sorry, I was like, which is it? Which bolt spell is it? It's firebolt. So you could now this is pretty hilarious, right? But and this isn't really destroying the world. But what if like culinary skills? Because remember we're talking about yes, one person could probably do all of these things with the right timing, but maybe you have to collect enough people together to have the arcane culinary skills that are needed. It would be like Iron Chef, Michael's and prestidigitation can light a campfire. Can it? I'm thinking of two separate things that prestidigitation can do, because I know one is it can chill and warm things, and then the other one is you can light a fire. That is correct. And then again, I'm ignoring druid craft spells. Here's the other thing too that we haven't really talked about. Like, what about clerical cantrips and first level spells, right? What Where do they sit into all of this? Because one question that someone brought up a while ago was like how about what would the gods be saying if clerics were able to just cast, you know, cantrips willy-nilly? Like what would they like why would they let something like that happen? And I think that'd be a really cool idea. Yeah, Michael's like prestidigitation to light the fire, Tempest floating disc to create the grill, mage hand to add ingredients. Um, I still think we need some druid craft for like not just to create the ingredients, like to grow some plants and herbs and spices and things. All right, so someone mentioned this just before we get out of here, because maybe we'll bring this up tomorrow, because I think it would be kind of cool idea to bring this up tomorrow. But I'll tease it out here. So someone in comment on a video from yesterday about I'm being very general here about the idea of like maybe spell components um, become like Mike Gould is saying, like maybe they become regulated. So, spell components, or maybe it's rude to wave your hands around in the air. Maybe there's here's how can I explain this? Maybe there is a cultural norm that those who have magic wear a chain um, around their hands, like almost like taking like a bike chain or something like that. About this tomorrow, because guidance. Remember, people that are subject to guidance are always better, which means that it's the hark my words, do this thing, and trust in my judgment, and the people are better for it. So would they keep learning, or would they just hang around the people giving them guidance to make them better people? I don't know. Mike Gould says the gods wouldn't concern themselves with cantrips. It's an expression of their power that acts like an advertisement. Quote, come to the church of Gond and be a creator like him. With advertising posters up and stuff like that. Oh no, not that, Night Girl. Guano smuggling underworld. Hey, you could train dogs to sniff displacer beasts, because I love myself some displacer beasts. You could train them to sniff out bat guano on people to make sure they don't have it before they come into town or something. Like Michael says, like having a badge, for instance. Yeah, you could have a badge of like, if you wear the badge, they know you're a wizard, and they know to watch out for your hands. Maybe everyone like tucks their hands into their jacket, or it would be a cultural method of asserting your passivity, much like waving to someone or shaking their hand, or politely opening a door for someone. Maybe there's something like that. Yeah, I'm with you there, Night Girl. I love Displacer Beast too. Hells yes. Oh man. Cameron says a prestidigitation. Wow. Can be shortened to presto without much confusion. Why isn't it that way in the first place? My autocorrect is asking. Presto changeo, right? ooh, hey, can I get a pesto on my salad? Sure, you can get some presto. No, 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 I said pesto. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being here. We've had some conflict issues. Right now, I actually am on my phone, which isn't the best thing to broadcast, and I know the audio is terrible because I don't have my microphone and all that kind of business. But we'll get it set up. And just thanks for stopping by. By the way, we go live Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. Please go down into the doobly doo, find out all the information. I am a Mike, man. Take it easy. And lastly, if you guys don't know this, Mike Gould, to look that up. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm glad you stopped by. Bring family and friends. Bring people who you don't like to the show. Maybe you could annoy them or something. Anyway.